I had an ex-girlfriend who once met Johnny Morris in a petrol station. Um, Not so impressive, is it? You don't even know who Johnny Morris is. So anyway, and she always used to tell that story, and I was like, why? No one knows who he. Anyway, hey everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Audiophiles, and it's Friday, special Friday, because we have a viewer's request, and this one is even better. So we have revisiting a band that we've listened to before, Television, um, and the track is Friction, and this was suggested by Juan Kelly. He dropped a comment on the Only Ones, Another Girl, Another Planet episode. And as I introduced Andy to Television, naturally, I've heard this many, many, many times before, but this is all fresh, new, and shiny for Andy. So he will be reacting to this, courtesy of Juan's suggestion. Toddling off, having a listen, coming back, and then telling what he thinks, and then I'll chip in with whatever comes to mind.
Excellent.
You haven't heard this, have you,
No,
Andy?
and I'm really like jonesing to hear more from this album and from this group, but specifically this album. I mean, the title track is pretty awesome. It would just miss my top three, and again, any given day, it could find
It
itself in
was
my top
noted.
three of the songs that you've offered me here. So I'm really intrigued to see what they sound like outside of that one really epic track, and if like the other stuff kind of like makes sense and fits under their umbrella that I've now created having listened to this one song. So yeah, let me go off and give Friction a listen, and I'll let you and Juan and the rest of the gang know what I think. I love that little guitar, like it's this sort of downward motion, like that's it's so pleasing to the ear. Yeah, this is only 22 seconds in. I can already see the potential on it, which should come as no surprise, having listened to Marquee Moon several times. All right, let's see what we got.
I knew it must have been some big setup. All action just would not let up. It's just a little bit back from the main road, where the silence spreads and the mended holds. I start to spin the tale. You complain of my diction. You give me friction. You give me friction. You give me friction. My eyes are
I love the way the bass and the guitar played off one another there. This sort of descending kind of melody they keep tinkering with is really infectious. Let's take it back a bit and try to hear that again.
My eyes are like telescopes. I see it all backwards, but who wants hope? If I ever catch that ventriloquist, I squeeze his head right into my fist. Some come tracking in. What is it? What's a prediction? Bet you it's fiction. I bet you it's fiction. I bet you it's fiction. I'm a snake. Get out of skin. It is fiction. Stop his head motion, set his sails. You know all us boys gonna wind up in jail. Well, I don't wanna grow up as too much contradiction and too much fiction. But I did fiction. You know I'm crazy about fiction. F-R-I-C-T-I-O-N.
Yeah. I mean, I shouldn't really expect anything less, right? I mean, that was awesome. They have this penchant for like doing jam, like, not, and I don't mean the band, I mean like the genre, right? Where they'll just run with these guitar themes and all these different little melodies that they'll pepper in these lead riffs and runs that they go on. And it's not the same every time. They're tinkering with it all the time, but it does have this jam band type quality where they could just ride these, you know, musical themes and tinker with them throughout the entirety of the song. And I know Marquee Moon was a really long track. I mean, this is no short Little John either. I mean, it's not exactly like an epic, but 4:43 is plenty of time to do all these different moving parts and bits that they fit into their song, and it sounds so great. Like on paper, you would probably think, oh, this is going to be like, if they had it all plotted out, like how calamitous is this going to be? But it's not. It's all organized, almost chaos with all the stuff that they're doing. The lead guitar is just having a goddamn day in this track. But for me, I really, really loved the bass work as well. Like, it was like the counterbalance. The bass kept everything rooted and moving along, and the guitar is free to have like musical ADD all over the place, while still being quite cohesive. Some great drum work in there too. Rhythm guitar did a fabulous job. Really loved his delivery. I mean, who doesn't love a song where they spell out in letters the title of the track? That's a tried and tested method. But yeah, this is a lot of fun. I'm impressed, but I'm not surprised because again, if you hear Marquee Moon, everything after that is going to be held to that standard. And while I like Marquee Moon, the track, a little bit better than this one, this clearly fits the mold of what they were doing in that track and probably what they were doing on this album from what I hear. And I would love to check out more of this. In fact, I don't know how much longer I'm going to go with just doing this track by track because I just, at this point, probably need to hear this entire album. This was a lot of fun. A lot of awesome musicianship in this track. And a great recommendation. Let's get back to John.
Okay, you're back. A Listen to Friction. What say you?
It makes perfect sense that this song came from the band that brought us Marquee Moon. I really had a lot of fun with this one. It's an interesting balance. The guitars at first listen really do stand out and are just absolutely amazing. This lead guitar that is like so close to flying off the handles, but just doesn't quite, mixed with this rhythm section that kind of is what keeps it from flying off the rails, is just a wonderful balance and dichotomy. And I can't say that I'm surprised, but I can say that I'm impressed. Like, I'm impressed with this band and their talent. But if you hear Marquee Moon and then you hear this, you can't really be floored or anything. You're like, oh yeah, no, it's just another great song by this band who did that other great song. So, yeah, if this was, I can also say that with pretty strong confidence that if this was the first song you had given me or I'd ever heard from them, I would be like, oh my God, this is fucking awesome. This is crazy. And I was, but I mean, not with that sort of the naivety you have when you don't know anything about a band or their sound and then you listen to them, right? So to me, just wow.
I'm just going to check. So that's the order I heard it in for the first time when I bought my cassette from Virgin record store many years ago. See No Evil, Venus, Friction, Marquee Moon, then Elevation, Guiding Light, Prove It, Tom Gun. Yeah. So the album for me was like, oh my God. By the time I got to this one, it's like, oh my God. And then, as I say, right? Marquee Moon, I had to pull over because it just blew me away so much. Sorry, continue.
Man. Well, you were saying that it's the last track before, like, what you had to flip the tape or something like that in this case.
It's that Marquee Moon and then turn the tape over.
Right, Marquee Moon, then which is probably good, like to because you need a breather after Marquee Moon, and if it's these two songs in a row, then you would really need like a respite from like the goodness. So yeah, that totally makes sense. It's kind of funny actually. So yeah, it's this fun little counter note rhythm on the guitar that starts things off, and the drums begin to build with it before the second guitar comes tumbling in with this descending melodic riff that reoccurs a bit, or variations thereof occur throughout the rest of the song. And it's the first illustration of how kind of bonkers this lead guitar work on this track is, and outside the box and like aconventional, if you will, which I really like that a lot. The lead guitar will continue to play this motif through the song, where it's almost coming off the rails just to stay within the lines, and it gives the song so much attitude, and it also gives the listener this feeling of like, oh shit, what's going to happen next, or where can you go from here? And that's a lot of fun, especially just a first time listener to this tune. And the bass is actually doing a great job of kind of helping to keep the guitar from straying too far out of bounds. And it's almost kind of like anchoring the tune and keeping things in balance. And around the 2-minute and 50-second marker, the guitar does this really quickly strum pattern. And then moments later, he's frenetically bending the strings and making the guitar whine. And it all sounds like so chaotic and calamitous, but it works. It's like controlled chaos. And I just love that so much. And later we get the tried and true method of lyricism where the title of the song is literally spelled out. There are plenty of songs where that occurs, and this is one of them. And there's like these killer drum rolls toward the end of the song, really, that take you to the end of the song. And I gotta say, the rhythm section is like in this song, and to use one of my horrible metaphors, the rhythm section is like an undeterred dog walker, somehow expertly strolling with a rabid cane corso on its leash. And that rabid cane corso is the guitar. Like the rhythm section is keeping this thing from fucking just going bonkers and terrorizing the neighborhood. But it does so really well, and it's just enough where it's just like, oh my god, what is this thing gonna fly off the handles? What kind of guitar work? What's coming next with this guitar? I loved it. It was a lot of fun. If I had never heard Marquee Moon, this would be like, I would imagine like I would look at it with the same reverence that I look at Marquee Moon. So to know that two songs come, Jesus, back to back off that album, that sound this good with this much interesting, and I would say for its time, ahead of its time, guitar work and like, you know, arrangement and stuff. It's just really, really cool. Like how they compose and arrange the guitar leads all throughout the song was really, really impressive. So yeah, this was a big hit. Juan, thank you for getting me off my ass and listening to another song by these guys, because I think I said at the end of this reaction, it's to the point now where like if you've got more from them, maybe move them up the list, because I kind of just want to check out this album now. Especially you've only enhanced that, going, oh yeah, the first half of this album is like this boom, 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 one after the other, great hit. And I'm sure that is the same for the second half of the album too. But if this is the kind of like, you know, material you can expect off this thing, then I want to hear it sooner rather than later, I suppose.
Yeah, I'll be honest with you, this was on my list of tracks to give you. So it's nice that one offered it up. And there's a few other sort of ones on my list as well. Cool. Yeah, it's a fantastic track. Now, we've already discussed the band in length on previous episode, Marquee Moon. I'll put a link in the description so you can go check it out. Anyone's in any doubt about them. This track is obviously from the said album, 1977's Marquee Moon. Just to refresh people, the lineup: Tom Verlaine, vocals, guitar; Richard Lloyd, guitar; Fred Smith, bass; and Billy Fiker, drums. Now, I did read some stuff about it. There's not a lot to say apart from it's awesome. You know, I haven't got these particular snippets, but I was reading some stuff. It was kind of like a Richard Lloyd memoir or something. And I cannot find it again, wherever it was, and I cannot find my notes either. So I'm just going to go by memory of what he said, and if it's wrong, it's wrong, and people can point it out. You know, but he was talking about how the band met and stuff, and they got Billy in on drums, and they had Richard Hell on bass, and he kind of left, and they weren't sure about Billy because he's a bit of an animal. You know, and Tom Verlaine was saying, we can't have this jazz drummer, you know, who goes mental all the time. And someone from CBGB's points out that all the best bands with the best guitarists have insane drummers, Bonham, Keith Moon, etc.
Yeah.
But they broke for some holidays when they were playing, and they actually auditioned other drummers when Billy went over to Florida or something to see his folks. And they realized when they had other people in that actually he's the only one who fit with them. You know, the others were really good drummers that just didn't fit. And it's when they got Fred Smith in on bass, they said it all really, he kept everyone together. Because Billy would do these drum solos and they go off across the street to get a coffee, come back, and he'd still be soloing. And it was interesting. He was talking about he's obviously still got beef with Verlaine. Or had at the time that he wrote this. We said about the songwriting that he was in the studio messing around with a riff, and Verlaine comes in and he goes, "Oh, what's that?" And it turned out to be Friction. And he goes, "Oh, I've got something that'll go over the top of that perfectly." And then he put later on and said, "If you take my guitar out of it, the rest is nothing, you know. And it clearly isn't, but that's the way he was. And he's really it's snide about, apparently Verlaine was always trying to get more money, like he would get 50% and the band would get 50% sort of thing, and they weren't having any of it. And he got
Yeah.
publishing rights, I think. But yeah, there's a lot of needle in there. But yeah, it's really interesting. I'll go through the lyrics and I'll say a little bit more. So yeah, the lyrics are interesting as well. Make of them what you will. I know it must have been some big setup. All the action just would not let up. It's just a little bit back from the main road where the silence spreads and the men dig holes. I start to spin the tale. You complain of my diction. You
Yeah.
give me friction, friction. You give me friction, friction. You give me friction, friction. My eyes are like telescopes. I see it all backwards, but who wants hope? If I ever catch that ventriloquist, I'll squeeze my head right into my fist. Something come a tracking in. What is it? What's the prediction? I bet you it's friction, friction. I bet you it's friction, friction. I bet you it's friction, friction. How does a snake get out of its skin? Here's a depiction, and go into the wonderful guitars. Oh, stop this head motion. Set the sails. You know, all us boys gonna wind up in jail. Well, I don't want to grow up. There's too much contradiction and too much friction, friction. But I dig friction, friction. We're both crazy about friction, friction. FRICTION, 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 friction. And then finishes. So yeah, it's been described as a beat poem about coming of age, journey into sexuality. Interestingly, on the sort of websites, there's a few. There's not loads, but there's a few. There is loads of double entendres in there, which Verlaine was not averse to putting in. The diction and ventriloquist squeezed his head right into my fist, and snake getting out of its skin and head motion. These are all fairly obvious images. Really interesting lines, which I really like. One says, it's just a little bit back from the main road where the silence spreads and the men dig holes. And that could be many things. I'm thinking, you know, just above New York where men dig holes. You know, we're talking New Jersey. But somebody else sort of put forward the idea that it was about gay sex. So there you go. And the other really nice line is, my eyes are like telescopes, because that immediately makes you think that they're scanning in. They're almost on stalks, and it's really focused in. And then the next line is, I see it all backwards, but who wants hope? Which means he's probably got the telescopes the wrong way around. You know, and it's just a really cool like image and then counter image afterwards. I'm not 100% sure what it means, but you kind of feel you know what he's saying, even if you don't 100% know what he's saying. And it definitely is this coming age thing, you know, friction, and we dig friction and crazy about friction. That's obviously just another word for rubbing your balloon on a woolly jumper and sticking it on the ceiling.
That's exactly what it is. Yeah.
Oh no, it's static, isn't it? Sorry. So yeah, I absolutely adored this song since the first time I heard it. It's almost like a fun size bit of Marky Moon. You know, it's got the guitars in there or anything, but it's done and dusted really quickly. It's not got the breadth and the depth of Marky Moon, but it's just if you want a quick hit of similar guitar chicanery, then this is your man. It's just, I think it's awesome. Verlaine, it's interesting actually as well. Richard Lloyd was saying, again, this is from memory, so please correct me if I'm wrong. He was saying in that his mate knew Jimi Hendrix. It's always the story starts like, I've got a mate who knows. But apparently his mate knew Jimi Hendrix, and his mate got lessons off Hendrix, and then his mate taught him. And he met Hendrix on Richard Lloyd, apparently. So that was his story about how well, you know, versed he was in guitar. And he said Verlaine was completely different. He was like this classic trained, like doing the vibrato and stuff. He would do it with a whole hand. So he'd only get fractions of tones different when rather than with like the the normal guitarist who would just use the fingers to bend notes and that.
Yeah.
But he would do this proper thing with the whole hand. So they said the difference between them gelled so well because they're two different approaches. This classical sort of guitarist away, and then his way more rock sort of based.
Yeah.
And that's why they worked so well. He knew instantly from the first time they met that their guitars would mesh, and they did. So, you know, he was totally right. At least that's what I remember him saying anyway. Cool. All right, then. I shall wrap things up and say thanks again, Juan, for suggesting this. It's a brilliant, brilliant song. One of my favorite ever albums. Really formative listening when I was younger as well. That made me believe what was possible. Really, really cool stuff. The album is great. We will get some more television on this channel, definitely. I've got a couple of tracks in mind, sorry. So yeah. Folks out there, tell us what you think of Friction. If you like it, please hit the like button and show everybody else how wonderful you think the track is. Drop some comments about television, about Friction, about anything else you want. We'd love to hear from you. Did you know a bloke who knew Jimi Hendrix? Please let us know. I had an ex-girlfriend who once met Johnny Morris in a petrol station. Not so impressive, is it? You don't even know who Johnny Morris is. So anyway, and she always used to tell that story, and I was like, why? No one knows who he is. Anyway, it's not like I do my Sir Laurence Olivier story, and everyone's like, bloody hell. Yeah, long story short, I had lunch with him. But anyway, so yeah, drop some comments, let us know. And if you haven't subscribed already, please think about doing it and supporting the channel. We really appreciate everyone who comes on board, everyone who watches our episode, everyone who drops comments, and everybody subscribes. You are much appreciated. And if we had any money, you would be mentioned in our wills, but we don't. So there you go. There's really nothing in it for you apart from awesome content. That being said, thanks again so much for watching, and we'll see all of you on the next episode of the Audiophiles.
See you later, guys.